From Ticker Studios, this is The Founder's Method, presented by Memo Bottle.
What are the best e-commerce brands doing right now to prepare for their biggest ever Black Friday sale? I'm Jesse Leeworthy.
And I'm John O'Burt.
And this is The Founder's Method. This is a show where we get into the real story behind how founders build, break, and rebuild businesses.
And today's guest runs a community of over 4,000 e-commerce founders backed by live data tracking over $1 billion in annual ad spend. He's watched countless brands win and lose Black Friday, and he's here today to break it all down around how to succeed in 2026. The founder of E-commerce Equation, Jay Wright.
G'day guys.
Hello,
Welcome, mate. Thanks for coming.
Stoked to be here.
It's good to have you.
Good. So we're going to talk about Black Friday, which is super exciting.
Love Black
now,
Friday.
what I want to know is, you work closely with thousands of brands, obviously. What are the biggest issues and mistakes that you saw last year?
Yeah, look, I mean, we've sort of, since 2019, when Black Friday wasn't a big thing in Australia, we've started sort of doing Black Friday sales. So every year we sort of add to the strategy and call some big shots around where the market's going. And so this year we're sort of, compounding on 5 or 6 years of these sort of sales. But the biggest mistakes people make, I think, is there's a lot of noise around Black Friday, whether you should do it or not, and there's a lot of opinion. We go to great lengths to conduct one of the, I think it's the biggest post-Black Friday survey of e-commerce brands in the country, to actually get data and actually understand, are people winning, are they profitable, what should you be focused on for the next sale event. And so I think being following your gut or winging it or following opinion versus actually following a plan and being prepared based on data is probably the biggest mistake that I see outside of our community.
So how long should e-commerce brands take to prepare for Black Friday? It's not just whacking a campaign together in October anymore, is it?
It's not. I think brands that treat it like any other sale and they roll into November and they sort of look at their stock and they chuck up a 30% off discount because that's what it looks like everyone else is doing. You're going to get smoked, right? So our data suggests that brands that start preparing July or earlier will make 35% more revenue relative to their baseline than those that start preparing in October.
Wow.
Now, obviously there's causation versus correlation. The best operators generally start preparing earlier, but you could probably take some insight from that, in terms of how early you should be preparing. If you start preparing in July, you can change your stock purchasing and still have a 12-week lead time before Black Friday. You can order gift with purchases. You can be fully prepared from an audience perspective. If you start preparing in October or November, you've got what you've got and you have to make do with it, right? So definitely the earlier you go, typically the more revenue and profit you'll make.
Yeah.
I think we've been on both sides of that.
We used to think it was just put a discount on the website. Off you go.
What, isn't it? No.
Have you guys started preparing?
We have, yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Happy to announce we started last month, I think.
Yeah.
Hey,
Still a bit to go, but we're working on it.
I love it. You're one of the good operators.
Yeah. So this year, what are the biggest themes that we should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, like 2019 to 2023, like Black Friday it wasn't novel, but there was like a little bit of a window where if you were ahead of the curve and you understood what was happening, just participating and like being a little bit pre-prepared, you could get a great result. The market's fully saturated in Australia right now. Like we've almost completely cannibalized Boxing Day, and all that demand's been pushed into Black Friday. Every single brand's across it, so it's very, very competitive. It's trending towards what it's like in the US, and so you still need all the basics like a sales strategy, understanding when to launch, and understanding the unit economics of your offer. But really, for the brands that we work with, we're really focused on the availability of quality audiences when you launch the sale, and the availability of quality stock at good margin. So we've moved from sort of like volume and strategy to really this quality of people to sell quality stock they want while preserving your profit. And that's sort of the big focus for this year for us and our brands.
Yeah, nice. That's really interesting, the availability of quality audiences and preparing it so far in advance, because I think most brands, when they think about preparing for Black Friday, it's more stock and operationally getting your POs in, stock readiness. Take us, what does that look like, the quality audience preparation?
So the fundamental problem is that Black Friday is incredibly competitive. So between the 1st of October and Black Friday, the 27th of November, the cost of ads will double. So you are paying twice as much to get in front of a person. So what that means is that the people you get in front of need to be of a higher quality. And you really end up in a situation where you're not doing a lot of new discovery, and you're not doing huge amounts of building your audiences during or even in the lead up to the sale. So that work needs to happen a lot sooner. And when you actually are deploying the most expensive media of all time, which it will be this November, you want to make sure that who you're spending that money to is educated, aware, and has desire for your product. And so
what does that look like?
So what that means is the best brands are starting now in developing their audiences. So this year is kind of different because the algorithms changed a lot to skew more towards discovery happening from the creative that you're deploying versus the audiences you select at the ad set level. And so quality audiences really is about understanding what personas, what angles that will resonate with those personas and what styles of ads can I start deploying now, so I uncover all these pockets of new people and new audiences that have desire for my product that you can then go and convert, or maybe even reconvert. If you've got them to purchase once, maybe they can double down on the whole memo bottle range because they've bought into the brand. And so there is an element of creative work that probably didn't exist as much last year, definitely the year before. And so quality audiences is about understanding, through creative, what personas you should be reaching and what ads resonate with them. So you've got that audience locked in, and you know what styles of ads you should be deploying during the Black Friday event.
Makes sense.
So yeah, you really need to be doing that in advance. I think you gave us a good example of, for us, for Member Bottle, like a side audience would be like potentially nurses or something like that. Like how do you go about finding those sort of niche audiences?
Yeah, so like historically, if you wanted to target nurses, you would go into the ad set and you would type in the audience setting nurses or nurse-related stuff, right? And you can still do that, but really a lot of the targeting is going broad at the ad set level, and the targeting is really happening at the ad level. So Andromeda, the personalized ad retrieval system that Meta deployed over the last couple of years, looks at the ad and sees the messaging, the personas in that ad, and then we'll go and show that ad to the audience that most corresponds to what's happening in the ad. And so, for example, in the lead up to Black Friday, there's probably dozens of adjacent angles and audiences that you guys could be targeting. And doing that work now, like say for instance nurses, you could create ads about the titanium bottle and how it's like more hygienic than silicone, or the alternatives, how it's like lightweight to carry, all those sorts of things that would then build that audience up. Obviously, you'd be converting along the way, but for every person that converts, there might be 50 that don't, but they're aware of it, and they're more likely to convert during the sale. So I think that work needs to start now, because it's incredibly expensive to do that the month of.
Okay, and then quality stock. So your team ran a meta-analysis, I believe, on what people are actually purchasing during Black Friday versus what they're purchasing out of campaign periods, and it's almost entirely, it can be entirely different. So what does the quality stock situation look like for prep?
Yeah, so look, it's pretty easy to get to understand how much volume of stock you need to hit a sales target.
Yeah.
But what we've identified is that once you've got the ability to reach quality audiences and your marketing is dialed, you've got all the techniques down pat, the inherent limitation of a sale is having the stock that people want to buy on the day.
Yeah.
And so it can sell great, it sounds great selling out of your best sellers the first hour of day one of your sale, but really that means you're probably leaving 50% of revenue on the table from that product, right? So we've developed some demand planning tools and done a massive meta-analysis to actually show how skewed stock buying is during the sale. I think a lot of people treat it like buying regularly, and the analogy here is like, it's not like you would just go and do your regular grocery shop, right, where you're just buying a little bit of everything. It's more like you're buying for a party.
Yeah,
you're going to get like 50 packs of Doritos and like 20 lemonades, because they're the hits, right? And so it is understanding, like, for this event, what do people want, and making sure that you've got that. And yeah, if you've got like unlimited audiences and unlimited like marketing dialed in, that's what will cap you at the knees, is like, we sold out of that bestseller first hour and we could have sold a lot more. And so we're really focused on helping people understand their unique split, right? So we've developed some tools that show you what products contribute what revenue during sale and what you've got in the lead up to it, so you can purchase ahead of that event and make sure you've got all of the stuff that people want, quality stock for the sale.
Is it critical that you have run a sale before to be able to plan within that tool, or?
It is. We do an analysis of like the prior sales you've done, but we also do an analysis of sort of your current stock. So most people will have like core, and then they'll also have sort of seasonal stock or drops. And so even if you haven't run a sale, we can sort of look back and do a retro of what's happened over the last year, and that will be informative. It might be not quite as informative as if you've run our 7-figure sales strategy once or twice before, but it'll still be enough insight to make sure you're ordering more accurately. And independent of access to those tools or not, like I think just understanding what people buy, making sure you're loading up on the actual units that people want versus, you know, just buying regularly is the big idea. And I think, you know, the difference between like rookies and seasoned brands going into the sale is rookies usually don't buy for Black Friday. They're usually just using it as a liquidation event. And so, yeah, even just the awareness that the big brands are buying for the sale at good margin is useful, I think.
And then that third point you spoke of was protecting margin or having a good margin, because it can be a race to the bottom pretty quickly for Black Friday. So what do brands need to know in order to prepare for that and protect their margins?
Well, I think firstly, just knowing you can make profit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of misconceptions about sales out there, a lot of noise about, you know, running sales. So our data shows that 74% of e-commerce equation brands had their most profitable month in November.
Isn't that wild? With discounting. Yeah.
3 out of 4, right? And so, yes, 7 out of 10 brands spent less or way less on ads during the sale. So,
and that's the prep work you were talking about?
It's the prep work, it's having like really clear understanding of who you should be targeting.
Yeah.
And so, you know, on average, it's 30 to 40% less on media. And 69% of our brands actually have the same or higher AOV during the sale, which obviously means that shipping's amortized over larger orders and you can actually lean out some of your other cost structures.
Yeah.
And then when you're trading, like all of your fixed costs go way down for that month when you've got huge volume. So, you know, so the profitability can be massive. And so I think a lot of people go into this event not understanding the unit economics. They don't understand the implications of their offer. They've got no way of preserving their AOV, and they don't advertise correctly. You know, when ads are the most expensive that they could possibly be, and there's a lot of traps you can fall into there. And so that's probably the basics. The best brands are also buying differently. So they're almost deploying this anti-loss leader strategy, where, you know, if you know you're going to sell 30,000 t-shirts in November, rather than going to your regular factory, you might have an opportunity to go to a higher MOQ factory and secure that stock at really good margin, and you could discount that at 40% off while still having the same gross profit on it. And so there's this, you know, so that's probably a little bit more sophisticated when you are doing scale. But the biggest brands, that's how they're thinking about Black Friday. It's definitely not. It's definitely not like a clearance liquidity event for everyone. Like 3 out of 4 people are making more profit than they've ever made in their lives. So
there you have it, guys. Black Friday sorted, 2026. So much value from this, man, isn't it? It's crazy.
Thanks so much for coming on.
And if you haven't checked out e-commerce equation, amazing. Like the value that you guys pump out and the amount of businesses that you coach and teach is amazing, including us. So
appreciate it. Thanks for being part of it.
Love being in there. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, guys.
You're watching Ticker. The Founders Method is presented by Memo Bottle. For more, visit memobottle.com.